Hold 2. Breathe in.
Yeah, so the Power Breath Meditation workshop of Project Welcome Home Troops is a mind-body resilience workshop for veterans and their families. And veterans finishing the course, so many of them, what they say to me, the thing that they got, is like, I got myself back.
And it's all designed for the 5 days to take you through kind of a stress relieving, detoxing, cleansing process.
Kind of back in their skin and able to be fully participating in the world around them, being a better version of themselves. Yeah.
Breathe out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
But here I am in a real world situation, active duty Army, stationed in Alaska, and we're going to deploy to Iraq and support the war on terrorism. Our job on the admin side is, we may not get to see it physically, like firsthand in some cases, but we actually get to read about it. But I processed probably close to 25,000 awards during that, 16-month period of time. I mean, some of them were good news stories, and then there were some the really shitty stories, somebody's parents just got notified, or, somebody now just became, some kid just became a, orphan, that type of shit. Some of these incidents we actually watched live, like it was on CNN. And so we would have live feeds from either drones or other sources. It's one thing to like actually watch somebody like die via video when you don't know that person. But when you actually know that person, or when you know what unit that belongs to, or I've drank with that guy, like I used to hang out with that guy, or that dude lives like 3 houses down from me. I know his wife, I know his kids. So it was real hard because it puts a whole new spin on being able to digest and then still work through that stuff. You've got to be able to just swallow it, and then figure out later how it's going to immerse.
The requirements were that the person spoke French and that they were willing to go into a war zone, and that was it. So I said, pick me. And I ended up going into Rwanda just as Rwanda, U.S. was evacuating Peace Corps volunteers, non-essential embassy staff, and other contractors were all being pulled out of there. And I kind of went in under the radar to work on an HIV/AIDS research and prevention project. And so I went in eyes wide open, knowing I was walking into probably a pretty bad situation. One day I was actually just driving home from my research clinic back to my house, and right in front of my house, there was a mob, and they were literally beating this guy to death. But I just remember watching that imagery of seeing someone being beaten to death, and it was horrifying, and I didn't even know how to process it. So I just kind of was like, wow, that was kind of nuts, and had the experience because the Civil War was going on in the country, where I would see bodies in the street or walk by someone who's dying in the street, and morally, like, I would never before, if you see someone here, and I'm here in my hometown in Boise, Idaho, dying in the street, I'm going to stop and help that person. I didn't stop and help those people because I was disconnected from what was happening, and there was so much pain and suffering, and I had to numb it down and shut it down so that I could cope with what I was seeing, because there's no way I could do the work I was doing. And I was surrounded by death all the time, and fear of, I was exposed to contaminated blood and different things. So it was just this lifestyle of like kind of madness. It was on the edge of madness.
So I worked for our battalion commander doing reconnaissance, and we had a sniper squad attached to us too. So we were scout sniper platoon. There was a point in my deployment where I actually had to accept my own death. And that came about because going out on these missions, just the level of anxiety that you have, and the vehicles that we have, you're exposed, pretty much from the chest up. So there's a good chance that, an IED goes off, improvised explosive device, car bomb goes off, you could catch shrapnel, or even, ambushed, you're just kind of exposed. So getting used to that is extremely challenging. So you have I had a lot of anxiety about, like, okay, like when's the next car going to blow up? All these kinds of things going through your head. And after you've been through a few attacks, you've been through a few car bombs, you've made it through a few ambushes, you finally get to this point where you're just like, I'm already dead. Once you accept that, you can be an effective soldier. The day my platoon sergeant was killed in action, I was given the day off. I shouldn't have had the day off. I should have been out there. And, then you go even further down that hole, and you're like, I should have been the one that was killed. This guy has a family, he has kids. I don't have any of that in my life.
I came back from the second deployment to Afghanistan, and within a few months was divorced. That light switch definitely works much easier to turn off the emotions and kind of deal with the shit you're handed. There just wasn't anything there for us as far as help. All this ramp up, all this training, year and almost a half long, mobilization. And then it's like, yeah, welcome back, get back to work. And you're supposed to be normal, so it's interesting.
Starting to notice symptoms popping up, and I couldn't sleep, digestive issues, kind of some hypervigilance happening, and just a very short fuse, a really short temper.
So, I would get pretty much drunk every night just to go to sleep, just to make sure that I wouldn't wake up or I wouldn't dream or, whatever. It got to that point where, I'm just like, okay, I have two options. I'm like, A, I'm going to kill myself, or B, I'm going to try one last push to try to get out of this hole.
And I had a friend of mine just said, look, there's this program. I can really help you. Just do it. That's all she said. That's all I knew. And I'm like, okay, I trusted her. So I just went and took this workshop. And
there's this breathing, there's this meditation thing. And as soon as I heard meditation, I was like, I'm not Buddhist. I don't do that type of stuff. Like, I eat meat.
At that point, I was just like, I got to be open. I got to be open to these kinds of things. If I want to get to a place where I'm feeling like I should be feeling, if I want happiness in my life, I need to create that for myself.
I was sweating, and I could just feel this anger, and I felt like I wanted to punch something. I was so angry, and the anger wasn't attached to anything I could think of, and I was just like, ah. And but it was the faster breaths the faster breaths are associated with that with anger, the emotion of anger. The inhumanities I'd seen, Rage Against childhood things, and it was all just coming out. And
first few days that I went, something happened. I don't know what it was. Couldn't tell you. It wasn't like this crazy epiphany thing. It wasn't the aha moment per se, but something happened. There's really a lot of stuff that I need to just let go, like release, just put it out for somebody else to deal with.
But it was like things that I hadn't thought about or that I didn't even think impacted me were coming up. So a lot of the civilian death that I saw over there was coming up. A lot of the firefights that we got in were coming up. I can sit here, do these breathing techniques and these memories of traumatic events that have impacted me so negatively and be like, how did that impact me? Or how do I feel about that? That in itself is just amazing, an amazing shift that I went through.
I'm in a position where I can help others. And through Project Welcome Home Troops and the Power Breath, workshop, I get an opportunity to network with other veterans who have been dealing with crap. But this can give them the opportunity to stand up, hold their head up high, and deal with whatever the things that are holding them back.
Just being able to shift my life in a way that is really beneficial to others. Yeah, before it was just kind of I think I was doing it more for myself to make myself feel good, but now it's just like, how can I be of service? I truly like selfless service, and that's the point that I've come to. There's no personal motivation to me that I'm gaining something from it anymore. It's just really being present for people.